So we have seen a lot of moves in the past 2 days in the Overwatch League, so we're going to go through them. This is not going to be a transfer roundup, this is going to be an Overwatch League roundup, because, I don't know why. Is this the way I'm thinking, to be quite honest? Anyway, we have a new support line at the Guangzhou Charge. We knew they had let go of Chara and Shu moving over to the Gladiators, Chara no longer assigned to a team, and now they have brought in new players. This is, first of all, Kareev. He's going to be filling that flex support role, and Grieve has a storied history in the Overwatch League. I think we all know that. He was at the Los Angeles Valiant before the league. He was at the Mortals, and he went straight to a Valiant. And then he went to Toronto Defiant. He's always been the good flex support that kind of gets the hard deal, if you see what I mean. He was great when he was on the Valiant. And Toronto, we didn't see too much of him at Toronto because, well, Toronto aren't a very good team, let's be honest. Now he's at the Guangzhou Charge, and I think that unlocks a lot of potential for him to pop off at the Guangzhou Charge. I really, really like that pickup. Of course, they need to partner him with someone, so this is going to be Mandu. Now, Mandu was at New York Excelsior last season. We didn't see too much of him, though. Really nice up-and-coming prospect in the main support role, and he was at O2 Blast before he was at New York Excelsior. He was inactive for a little while when he was at New York Excelsior because he was too young, and he came at the start of last season. And then he got a couple of appearances, but nothing too substantial. So we really haven't seen the best that Mandu can offer right now. So he's going to get this chance at Guangzhou Charge. Is he up to the level that Chara displayed? We don't know. This will be a case of seeing when he plays more than anything, because to be quite honest, we just haven't seen enough of him at the Overwatch League level to know how good he is. He was okay at the New York Excelsior. He was definitely not ridiculously bad. But I'd like to see him, fill that role all the time. And hopefully at the Guangzhou Charge he's now going to do this. He'll also be under Acne. He was the assistant coach at the San Francisco Shock. He's now at the Guangzhou Charge as head coach. And I think that's a good move. I honestly think it's a good move. I think this support line for the Guangzhou Charge is very sink or swim. It will be fantastic, or it will be Pepega, and we won't see much out of it. So it will be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting to see how this goes. Then we have the movements at the Philadelphia Fusion. These are big movements. So this is them letting go of Fury, Sado, and Ivy. They're all becoming unassigned. Sado is not surprising, considering we knew that they picked up Mano. Fury is surprising. Will they keep hold of Poco, maybe, and stick with Poco? I still think it's a weird option to take Fury over Poco when you've just signed Mano. Take Poco over Fury if you just signed Mano. I would have thought it would have been the other way around. Or they get rid of both off tanks, and they could do something like reunite Mano with Meko. Meko is a free agent at the moment. So I'm not sure about that. Letting go of Ivy. This has been coming, we think. It's been rumoured for a little while. And it's not too surprising to see that forfield here. Ivy, I think, deserves another team. Deserves another shot at the Overwatch League. Definitely. So, yeah, I think he will get another shot. The question is who to Philly replace him with. There is a little-known player called Rascal on the market, and I'm sure that the Philadelphia Fusion will be looking at him, because in my opinion, Rascal will be an upgrade on Ivy. So, moving on to the main tank then, and we knew that Fearless had moved over to the Dallas Fuel from the Shanghai Dragons, so Shanghai Dragons were looking perhaps for another main tank. We had the rumours that they were looking at Fate of the Florida Mayhem, and that has been confirmed. Moon has taken the opportunity to bring Fate along from the Florida Mayhem to the Shanghai Dragons. We are expecting Fate to turn out as the main tank for the Shanghai Dragons next season. I don't think it's a bad pickup. The thing is, Fate has got extremely big shoes to fill in Fearless. Fearless was one of the best main tanks in the league last season. So, it's going to be very tough to fill those shoes. Very, very tough. And I'll be very interested to see if he can do so. Under Moon, though, I think it's possible. Fate has been up and down. I think he was consistent for the Mayhem last season, but I don't think he was consistently one of the best tanks in the league. So it will be interesting to see how they do that. And now it opens the question of who's going to be main tank for the Florida Mayhem next season. Will they try and yoink Sado, or will they try and yoink someone else? That'll be interesting. Now, moving over to the San Francisco Shock, and this is the confirmation of what we've been rumoured for a long, long time. This is the Moth transfer to the Los Angeles Gladiators. Gladiators with a support line of Moth and Shu right now. Looking pretty tasty. Looking pretty darn tasty, that Gladiators team right now. San Francisco Shock. We will see who they replace Moss with in a minute, and it's an interesting one. It's a very interesting one. Right then, moving on to the Boston Uprising. Yeah, Boston Uprising. They've actually signed a player, Pog. Remember I'm 37? Yes. He was at the Toronto Defiant once and looked pretty okay. Got dropped by the Defiant, went to Light Gaming, then he went to the Uprising Academy. Yes, he's stuck around Boston. Then he was inactive at the Uprising Academy and waddled his way over to Korea to play for WGS Phoenix, who, while he was playing, decided to win Korean Contenders. And now, I'm 37 finds himself back at Boston, but instead he's at the Boston Uprising and not the Uprising Academy. This is not too much of a surprise. The new head coach of the Boston Uprising is Laurie. Laurie was head coach at the World Game Star Phoenix, WGS Phoenix, so to take her I'm 37 over there, it's not too much of a surprise, wouldn't have cost too much either because he was already linked to the Uprising Academy, so this is not surprising. I think this is a good pickup. This is obviously the like-for-like replacement for Jerry. Big shoes to fill, if you can say that for the Boston Uprising, because they didn't do too much, but IM37 has to be that pop-off hit scan DPS, and IM37 can be that. We'll be interested to see where Boston Uprising go from here. They've also decided to let go of their inactive main tank Axiom. He'll no longer be assigned with them. Again, they re-signed Diffusions. Rosters are being slimmed down during this off-season. It's not a surprise to see Axiom go because of his inactivity. And yeah, I wish Axiom all the best in finding. He will probably go down to Contenders or something because I don't think he's proven enough to become another Overwatch League team. Add another Overwatch League team. I'll get there in a minute. Don't worry about it. It's been a long day. Then movements at London. London. It's been a long time since we talked. Well, it hasn't because we talked about it in the last video. But it's a long time since we talked about roster movements at London. Since they offloaded a bunch of their old roster. This is 2 new coaches at the London Spitfire. First of all, we are seeing Reprise come in as head coach of the London Spitfire. He is actually owner of the Contenders NA team Revival. Revival is doing very well recently. He's also owner of Delta Phoenix in NA Contenders as well. He has a history of being at LA Valiant. He was a coach at the LA Valiant during the 2019 season. And he was also a coach at Mayhem Academy when that was a thing. And he did okay with the Valiant, He got to stage 3 playoffs with the Valiant, 3rd or 4th, can't remember quite where now. Decent pickup. He's going to maintain his role as owner of Revival, but he's probably going to be quite inactive in that role while he is head coach of the London Spitfire. To assist Reprise, we are seeing Commander X come in. So Commander X is a British coach. He is with the British Hurricane. He will be moving over to an assistant coach role at the London Spitfire. Not too much of a surprise. We have, rumoured for a long time that the London Spitfire are going to promote most of their British Hurricane talent. That obviously starts with Commander X as a coach. It'll be interesting to see what they do. What this does give us an indication of is the entire staff of the Hurricane are not going to be promoted. And the reason I say that is because if they wanted to do that, Fisher, who is currently not Fisher as in not as in the main tank, Fisher is in the ex-DPS player, Danish. He is head coach of the British Hurricane right now, and he has not been promoted to the head coach role of the London Spitfire. So this is not going to be a straight promotion, that's for sure. It'll be very interesting to see where London go from here. I'm still not expecting too much in terms of roster announcements for London Spitfire anytime soon because of the complications with Contenders and the Gauntlet. I'm sure they want to keep their current British Hurricane roster on the straight and narrow while they compete in those. So we might not actually hear anything until December, very, very, very late December, if not January, which would be that would be rough. Or maybe they will announce it. Who knows? But we do start to see the makings of this new London Spitfire coaching lineup with Reprise and Commander X. It'll be very interesting to see what they do. It's nice to see another British coach in the league, I'm not going to lie. Christopher, you're not alone, my friend, you're not alone. We are going to round this video out. I promised the replacement for Moss at the San Francisco Shock, didn't I? Who is that replacement? It's the French support Fdgod, transferring from the Paris Eternal. There was a long, hard discussion on my Discord about this. Fdgod Rollstar last season. I don't think necessarily this is a bad pickup for the San Francisco Shock. Do I think Fdgod is as good as Moss? I think Moss offers a lot more than Fdgod does. And what I mean by that is Fdgod, good Lucio. He got beaten in 1v1 with Astro. Not gonna lie, funny Astro, you know. But Fdgod is one of the good main supports in the league. I don't think we can argue with that. So San Francisco Shock have decided to open the checkbook and get him. I'm not going to moan about that. I don't think it's a terrible replacement for Moss. I don't think there are many players that can go like for like replace Moss. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad pickup. One thing that is incredibly insightful about this pickup is it means that the San Francisco Shock are not going all Korean, which is something that we suspected they might do. We were expecting them to let go of Moss and let go of Super, and then go pretty much all Korean, maybe Tayo as well, but they didn't let go of Tayo. So this is still going to be a mixed roster. One advantage for Fdgod is the fact that he's played on a very Korean-influenced roster at the Paris Eternal, so he was probably very, very well comforted to that role, being around the other Korean players, similar to Funny Astro at the Philadelphia Fusion. So I don't think it's a bad pickup, and I think it's actually very good business from Paris, because hopefully, because of the contract Fdgod was on, San Francisco Shock have had to pay, and if that's the case, then Paris need that money. So that's not a bad bit of business from Paris right there. And hopefully they can reinvest that a little bit into their squad. It's not much, but hopefully they can reinvest a little bit. I think there are some very interesting moves in this though. I'm 37. I'm very interested to see him back in the league. The new support line for Guangzhou Charge, Kariv and Mandu. That'll be really interesting. Moss finally getting his move over to the Los Angeles Gladiators. That's going to be super interesting to see what happens there. We still have question marks over Super. We mustn't forget that. And then the new coaching staff at the London Spitfire. We're starting to see things take shape at different teams. Super duper interesting. This was a quick bulletin bulletin in it, bruv. This is a quick bulletin of what's been going on the past 2 days in the Overwatch League in terms of transfers. It's probably gonna... We seem to get... And I've been looking at this on my Discord, because now there's an entire list of... If you want to go to my Discord, there is a channel that contains an entire list of all the transfers that have happened in this off-season. And it seems to come in days. Some days you'll get very little, and then one day just everything pops off. And, for example, most of these moves are on the 12th when we got Mandu, we got Fate, we got Moss, we got I'm37, we got Commander X on Reprise and Fdgod and Axiom. We got a lot of moves. So it's incredibly interesting, and I'm sure things are only going to get more and more exciting as we go through the rest of this year. But I am going to leave it here for this one. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.